From Finstrat CFO, it's the Keep Going podcast with your host, Joe Hamrahi.
Welcome back to another episode of Keep Going, the Finstrat CFO podcast. Today, I'm really excited to have a special guest who I've only known through LinkedIn to this point, and his great book, Relationship Currency. I'd like to introduce you all to Ravi Rajani. Ravi, thanks for joining us today. I'm really pumped up. It's great to finally meet you.
Well, you nailed the first name and the surname, my friend. We're off to a good start. We're off to a good start. I appreciate you having me, and I know that our relationship, is new, but it is started on LinkedIn, and I'm looking forward to digging deep and growing it, man.
Yeah, same here, same here. And I mean, we're going to dive into the book a bit, but before we get to that,
Mm.
just give us a little bit about you, your upbringing a bit, some of your morals and ethics that you were raised through, and then where you went in your career, and how that started.
So, do you want the corporate response, or do you want the response with a little bit of personality? Which one do you want?
I want the real story, what you would tell your friends.
Okay. All right. So, where do I begin? Well, in a healthy way, I blame it on my mum. I blame everything on my mum because when I was
I
about
think we all do, by the way.
yeah, we all do. But she Miyagi'd me, and if you're a Karate Kid fan,
Yeah.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because when I was about 9 years old, she literally shoved me into the same dance school as my little sister. Luckily, not the same dance class, but the same dance school as my little sister. And I remember, Joe, on the face of it, I was pretty angry because I was thinking, how could she play me like this? Okay, I'm the only boy in my school, in dance school. I don't want this to get out. I do not want anyone to know. And by the way, it got out, but that's a story
Oh,
for
wow.
another day. But eventually, I quit, right? After a James Bond theme showcase, I quit. And little did I know, a couple of years later, many years later, I'm a teen, and my best friend's dad is a playwright. He
Oh, wow.
writes me into his first play. One play led to another, which led to meteor roles. And eventually, I actually had the opportunity to perform at the National Youth Theatre in London. So growing up, people would always say, hey man, like, this whole speaking, acting, or presenting thing, we think you're pretty good at it. Like, are you going to make a thing out of it? And I remember, Joe, I had two voices. Shoulder, number one. My left shoulder was Gordon Gekko. You seen the movie Wall
Yeah.
Street?
Look at
You
this.
seen the movie, right? Greed is good. So I was like,
All the
okay,
characters coming out.
yeah, exactly. Greed is good. The other side of me, the other shoulder, was the voice saying, hey, pursue psychology. Pursue your love of human connection. Pursue your love for the arts. But I was like, no, hold on. I don't really see that as a career. I want to make some money. I want to make some real money. Where can I do that? Investment banking. So that's what I did. Finished up my master's degree, and I ended up on the trading floor at a large American investment bank selling foreign exchange products to multinational corporates. And I remember specifically, Joe, the day when I realized, and I didn't want to admit it to myself, but I can say this in hindsight, the day that I realized that I had everything I desired on paper,
Yeah.
yet I still felt empty.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is strange. Why do I feel this way? Why does this not feel how I thought it would? Where has the euphoria gone? Why has this got old so quickly? But I didn't listen to my intuition for some time. I continued thinking things were going to change. And hey, whilst I met some friends for life and I learned so many cool things, it just felt out of alignment. So in August 2016, I said, you know what? I'm going to press eject. I'm out.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm gonna go and engage in a little something that I now call the Great Experiment. So the Great Experiment was 4 years of me testing different career paths. I had a portfolio career. So I was dabbling in TV presenting. I was
Wow.
dabbling in coaching and consulting, fractional sales leadership. And then I ended up in a full-time role in a sales leadership for a tech firm. And I was doing all these things. And then in 2020, middle of the pandemic, September 2020, I said, I'm all in. And I decided to go all in on the very thing that had been my edge since my mum shoved me into the same dance school as a little kid.
Yeah.
Communication, because like I said, she Miyagi'd me. Little did I know I was learning stage presence. My best friend's dad was secretly teaching me the art of storytelling. I brought all this together, and hey, since then I've not looked back, and here we are.
So that's an incredible story. And there's so many great characters in there, and I think the Miyagi part of the story resonates with so many of us, right? Like you I wouldn't say you're forced, but you're like shoved, as you use the word you use. But
Politely
I think
shoved. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that we don't even realize sometimes that, as a parent now, we're both parents, right? And my kids are older than yours, but we also get to the point where like we become a bit like our parents. It's the cliche, right? And we don't realize it. And it's experience, right? Our parents knew a little bit more. And your mom pushed you in the direction that created all these other skills for you that now serve a different purpose in life. And probably, you're ending in a place, or not ending, you have a whole life ahead of you, but you're in a place now where you're appreciating much more than having that emptiness you felt when you were an investment banker. So tell me how that went down. Was it, how did they take? Was it like a sudden, like everybody decided, what happened? Robbie's just quitting investment banking, or was it like a lead up to that a little bit?
Well, two things. Firstly, it's funny you say that. When we look back and connect the dots, we realize that everything is and was happening for us, not to us. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am so grateful to my mum and dad for enrolling me in things that I didn't want to. Like, like swim class. I ended up doing karate, like all these things that they took me to. And you don't realize it at the time, but every single experience and moment is secretly shaping you
right.
and transforming your being to be able to hold the desires you have for the next chapter of your story. So I'm so glad for that. When it came to investment banking, you know, I wouldn't say I just woke up and resigned. Like it
Okay.
wasn't like that. I'll never forget. I was at home and I had a whiteboard in my room and there was a number on it. I can't remember the exact number, but it was like 90 days till D-Day, like 101 days, whatever
I
it
love
was.
it.
And that was when I was like, okay, this is when I'm going to do it. And it never happened. Like the day, it would be like the 90th day,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, no, I'm going to wait for X. I'm going to wait for Y. And like most of us, we don't end up making change until the cost of staying where we are
Right.
outweighs the cost of making change. And
Yeah.
that's what happened. So for me, it wasn't like I woke up and just went and did it, but I did find myself at points just in analysis paralysis, spinning my wheels, being like, what am I going to do? And really trying to think my way out of a paper bag is the best way to put it. I was really recruiting the intellectual side of me and being like, okay, if I do this, then I can do
Yeah.
that, and I can do this. Versus now, I believe, that's important, but leaning into my intuition is how I personally make a lot of my decisions today. So, I definitely didn't wake up one morning and go, hey, I'm about to
No.
go. But I tell you what, I don't know if you've seen this, Joe, but, growing up, everybody, in my, who I was connecting with, they wanted to be an investment banker. Like that was like the thing back
Yeah.
then, right? Like your son works at Goldman Sachs, so
Right.
right? Like it was a thing, and now it's I want to be a YouTuber or influencer, whatever it
Right.
is. But that was it back then. So I remember my identity was very tied into the status that gave me. And like my ego ego stands for everybody's got one. So, my ego
Right. Exactly.
loved the idea that I worked at this big bank, but the truth is not everything that looks great on paper is right internally for you. And for me, it was time for a change, man.
Well, and I so appreciate that because I, and most of my listeners and readers and the people I work with don't completely know my story. And this is about you, but I think it's really important to connect this. Like
Yeah,
some of
tell me.
us who are entrepreneurial too, but also like we're trying to still figure it out. I mean, we're at very different age points in our lives, right? But I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm going to write something tomorrow that, I learned more in the last 5 years about myself, my life, the people around me than I may have learned in the 50 before that. And I
Yeah,
think that it's really interesting when the point you made about when the pain of staying or the cost of staying, I won't call it pain, but the cost of staying outweighs the cost of leaving. I think that's the moment. And I have been like you, I was for the last 5 years, I've toyed with the idea of being an entrepreneur, starting my own consultancy, doing something that would be more energizing to me. And it wasn't about anybody else necessarily. It was about something I wanted to do. And just like you're talking about, you woke up and this just doesn't feel right. And then you finally go around and around and so you try to plan the perfect moment until you realize there is no perfect moment and you just do it. So that 90-day period you talked about for me was like 5 years, right? I just kept going and going. But I really appreciate that. And that's a really important point for our listeners and people who are thinking about doing something. It doesn't mean you do it recklessly, but you also do it in a way you only get one shot at this life, right? So you want to do it what's best for you, your family, the people you care about. So I really appreciate the honesty with that. That's really special. Tell me as before we go into the part of the book a bit, and I really do want to go into that more.
yeah.
How did your family take all this? I mean, you have your mom who pushed, was a force behind you, your dad, and I assume you didn't have your kids yet, but like, were other people who had relationships in your life, how did they look at it? Were they supportive? Were your friends supportive? Or, was it an adverse reaction? Or did you
My
not care?
parents. Sorry, say that last bit
Or
again.
did you not care anyway? Either way. So,
My parents were like, go for it.
oh, I love that. I love it.
We, whatever you want to do, go do it. Like, and that for me gave me so much confidence to go and pursue. And it felt incredible to have my parents saying, we believe in you regardless of what you
That
do.
is great. I love that. Yep.
Go for it. So that's incredible. And I also recognize though that that's not everybody's story. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that is my truth. And I would say if somebody is listening to this right now and they are on the cusp of making a big change and they're worried about what others will think, here's what I personally realized. When we dim our light and shrink ourselves in order to appease and fit into somebody's definition of us, the only person that loses out is us. And what I've noticed is as you grow, some people might be uncomfortable with that. Friends might be uncomfortable with that. But the question is if they are holding you back, if they are trying to pull you down, are they really your true friends? And
Right.
are they meant to be with you in that next season of your life? And I'm a big believer in the fact that when you let go of energy that is misaligned, you create the internal space to receive the energy that is aligned, the abundance in all forms, like friendships, relationships, career, whatever it could be. So often the sunk cost fallacy is real. Oh, I've been, friends with this person for so long, or I've known this person for so long, but the older I get, and look, I'm 37 now, but the older I get, I realize that life is about seasons.
Right. I mean, it's exactly right. I mean, you go through these points where I wouldn't serve is probably the wrong word, but they're meant to be in your life at a point in time, just as like you're meant to be in their life at a point in time. And we go
Exactly.
through different people, and it doesn't mean we don't care. It just means that we've evolved or changed or have different goals. And you're meant to be around different people who support each other. So thank you for that. So you hit right into relationships, right? So that's where we're going to go with the book. Relationship Currency is the book. You can get it on Amazon, which is where I got it. You
Nice.
can tell us and where else you can get it after. I want you to give a little promo and plug at the end of this for sure. But let's jump into the book, Relationship Currency, the 5 communication habits for limitless influence and business success. So my first question clearly, and I talked about this with you before we started, it's not chapters, it's not, specific segments, it's habits. Why habits?
Well, firstly, I wanted to create an experience for people that they genuinely enjoyed, was contrarian to what they've experienced before, and a book that they can actually finish if they desire to. So when you see a book, I don't know, Joe, let me ask you this, my friend. When you see a book that's 300 pages, 400 pages long, what feeling do you have in your chest?
Yeah, it feels like it's work. I don't want, and I love that in fact, your book and a friend of mine, in fact, I keep saying in fact, but it's like, it's really is a fact, are the ones are right on my desk.
Yeah.
And it's all, I mean, they have similar kinds of themes, human aspects, but you're right. It is oh my God, it's a daunting thing. I'm ever going to get through this thing.
Yeah, yeah. So that was one of the things is, hey, if we call this, let's make this different. Let's create a different experience for people. But that was a byproduct of the following belief, right? That was an organic byproduct of the
Yeah.
following belief that in order to create change, we first need to create change within ourselves. Meaning, if you want to sell a product or service, if you're trying to sell an idea, a vision, whatever it could be, what you're really selling is change. But uh, that's all external, and actually, it begins with the internal. It begins by creating change within ourselves, and that comes down to the labels we give ourselves, the beliefs, the associated stories, which act as a launch pad for our behavior, and then when repeated consistently, habits. So
Right.
for me, it was about shifting people's habits and giving them a series of practices per habits, which will substitute their current behaviors for ones which point towards a new North Star, which create a new set of habits. So that's how I was thinking about it.
No, that's great. And I think that, you've arranged it in an order that's easy to get to your point. It's easy to go through and relate to. And I think
Mm.
that that's the biggest, part of the book to me. It is meaningful, right? Complexity doesn't necessarily have mean better. It's focus, it's alignment, it's feeling. And that's what the book does for me, and I believe for others too. So Limitless is a part of this. It's in the title. How did I know it's a word that's meaningful to you. How did that come up as part of the book?
Well, fun fact, the book's name was originally going to be Limitless Influence,
Ah, okay.
right? I'm at an event speaking at this. It's like a workshop for different business owners looking to grow the speaking side of their business. And I was at this event with 5 other speakers, and we were showcasing our keynote speech. And I was speaking to this agent. I won't name his name, but this agent who was a part of a bureau, and we were getting along great. And he was like, "You know what, Rav? I'm not feeling the book's name." And I was like, "What?" And then as I started to get more and more feedback, people were like, "Yeah, like, nah, it's not doing it for me." And when I received that, originally it felt like a gut punch because I was like,
Right.
hold on, the entire book has been arranged to support this North Star of limitless influence. But then I dug deeper. I thought, what is this book really about? This book is about relationship currency. And I didn't have to change anything inside the book except a few
Right,
words
right.
here and there, right? To actually ensure it points to the term relationship currency. But I didn't need to shift anything. So this book was always about relationships. But it took its time once the manuscript was nearly done for that title to actually come. So for those actually thinking about writing their first book or have ever thought about it and want to do it in the future, it's such a messy, non-linear process. It's funny. It's, you talk about complexity. I had probably 9+ revisions, Joe.
Wow. Okay.
Book. So, for me, it was why, more doesn't necessarily mean better. So
Right.
I was slicing the fat as much as I could to create something that was not me just repeating the same thing over and over again. It was content which was new in every single habit. So somebody could say, you know what? I'm going to keep this in my bag and I'm going to return to it after that meeting. I wanted it to be a returnable asset.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. So, if you don't mind, could you just touch on the five habits, just like
Yeah.
what and how you came up with those? I'd love to like, and you don't have to spend an enormous amount of time on them, but just give me like your thoughts on how you came up with those specifically. I mean, even if you talk about it in general, the
So
general five habits.
habit one is transform your story. Habit two is ask conscious questions. Habit three is unearth your charisma. And habit four is tell stories that inspire change. And habit five is become the trusted guide. Now, I would say this, I don't have an eloquent answer for you about how everything came to fruition. It's not as if I sat down and I was like, aha, and just had this like big aha moment. It was a series of different newsletters talking about different methodologies over the years, figuring out what people didn't like, figuring out what they do like, and figuring out what's important for the reader in this next chapter of their story, as well as what I want to be known for, right? In this next chapter of my story. So I would say it's an aggregation of my experience, intuition, story, and frameworks to date.
No, that's great. And I think, but the biggest part, and you said it all the way through all the five habits, was that their story, it's the story, right? It's telling the story, hearing the story, having portray a story that people can relate to and understand. And I
Mm,
think that that shows a lot in content we see today. The people who are successful at giving examples and resonating with others. And honestly, it's in leaders of countries and leaders around the world and leaders in business. The ones who could relate to the people, the staff, and make it tangible and palpable and something that people could actually achieve is all the difference in the world. And I think, one of the points you made is this, a short story is often more powerful than a large deck. We've talked about that in my company, what I do. It's about, again, getting the message across, and you clearly, that's a bit of the focus here, and it's really resonates with me.
yes, I mean, I can't remember where I said that. To be honest, I don't know if I don't think it's in the book. Maybe it's a piece of content, but
Yeah.
I definitely believe that a feature-rich deck may make you feel busy, it may make you look productive, and it may stroke your ego, but does it pack a punch? Well, the person on the receiving end will tell you, and often what is more impactful is a story
Right.
which where rather the underlying core message deeply connects to the problem you're looking to solve in that presentation or pitch or the purpose of that conversation. And it's often what people miss. And you know we can dig deeper into different frameworks and stuff,
Sure.
but where would you like to take that, I suppose, is my question.
No, I think it's just really about, and it's okay. I mean, I mean, I think that what's important here is, I mean, you said it, you answered exactly the way I was thinking. It's the message at the end of the day, right? It's about what you're trying to get across, and its relatability to people. So I think you you answered it. We don't have to take it anywhere, any different angle or any different way. So, that was perfect, frankly. So I want to just ask one more question, and I do want to actually give you time to plug the book too, and anybody around the book that helped you through this. So the last one is, I mean, it's the name of the title, and I know this is sort of like putting you on the spot. But so if you had to say tell me in your words, relationship currency is, if you could finish it in a sentence, can you do that? Or is it too complex to say it that quick easily?
In one sentence, would you say?
Yeah.
You want me to explain in one
Yeah.
sentence?
Can you do that in
Oh,
one
this is
sentence?
good. This is good. Okay, what a challenge.
I'll give you a couple more sentences if you like.
Let's try for one sentence. I've never been asked this question before, so this is good. So if you, I'm going to take a beat here, And I'm going to take 30 seconds to
No,
truly
of
think
course.
so I can give you a valuable response. So bear with me here for a second.
Sure.
In a nutshell, my one sentence would be helping another human being receive their desires without self-interest.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
I love that. That is perfect. Now I have to you have to write about that somewhere now. You have to
Yeah,
elaborate that
yeah.
on one of your posts. Now you have some fuel for the next writing or
Well,
next
thank you for
speaking.
asking me that question. I've
No,
never
I
been
love it.
asked.
It's great for me, like too. And I ask that question sometimes when people because I think we're reading the book, and I think no one, again, to your point, the brevity of it is its power, right? But it's also I love the takeaway, what is really the meaning behind the whole thing, and that is a phenomenal quote. So thank you for that. Now here's your turn. Give me the plug on the books, where people can get it. Some of the people you want to give a shout out to, I'm happy to let you do that too, because this is an important work for a lot of us in a world that's a little chaotic right now, and
Yeah.
it seems a little bit, out of order. We want to connect with each other. Give us the plug.
Well, instead of giving you a plug, I'll do something slightly different if you don't mind.
Sure, of course.
I'll give you a framework that sits in the book and a real tangible practice that people can take away. Are you okay with that? Are you good for
I
time?
love it. Yes, go for it. Yeah,
So
let's go for it.
let me pick one.
Okay,
Um, so let's take a look at habit number 2, which is ask conscious questions. So let's start at the top. What's a conscious question? Now, how I define a conscious question is a question that is grounded in positive intentionality. Now, somebody will go, well, what do you mean, like positive intentionality? Well, there's a difference between me asking Joe a question because I secretly want to guide him to a solution
right.
that benefits my bank balance but not his, versus asking Joe a curious, authentic, and genuine question to get to the heart of his truth so I can earn the opportunity to be his trusted guide and guide him to what he desires without self-interest. Going back to our definition there, or rather, what we're looking at when we think of the term relationship currency. So, great. What's one type of conscious questions? What's one type of conscious question, rather, that somebody can use who's listening to this right now? Well, there's something I talk about in the book called asking empathetic questions. Now, don't roll your eyes, people, okay? Because I know that word is overused, but stay with me because here's how I define empathy. It's about being interested in what another human being, aka your conversation partner, is emotionally invested in. So I'm going to say that again. Being interested in what the person opposite you is emotionally invested in, caring about what they care about, really,
Yeah.
at the basic level. Okay, so now let's look at a type of empathetic question. So I have something called the what, feel, who method, which is inside the book. Now let's give an example. Let's say your listener is a leader and they run a team, a mid-sized team. They're busy, they haven't had breakfast, they run into the one-on-one coaching session with their new team member, sandwich in their mouth, and they go, "Oh, how are you, Joe? How are you?" And you're like, "Yeah, good, thank you." That's it.
Right.
Surface level, build no depth, it lacks intimacy, but more importantly, it's lazy. It's a
Yes.
lazy question. How are you in the wrong context is a lazy question. So, what do we do instead? Well, here's what we could do. Hey, Joe, the last time we spoke, you mentioned that you were moving home, but you were feeling super stressed about it because your youngest son was feeling really unhappy about the change. How has he settled in now? So the what
Right.
is moving home, the feel is your emotion, which is stress, and the who is your son. That's who it's impacting.
I love it. Yeah, right.
So
Exactly.
my job in a conversation is to extract what's important to you, what's important to you in this season of your life. How do you feel about it, and who in your life this is impacting, so you can ask meaningful follow-up questions that embody empathy. That's one thing that I would give the listener right now that they can implement straight away.
That is perfect, and I think that is far greater than any specific plug or any mention. I mean, we know we're going to post about the book anyway, but I think those are the takeaways that you're getting across what you wanted to say in the book here, and I that's what I wanted to hear. I love it. I mean, you've been inspiring to me from the time we met online and have had conversations. It's great to actually meet you in person. I hope we could do this again, or even actually meet in person in the UK when I'm over this summer. But I want to thank Ravi again. Again, the book is Relationship Currency. It's fascinating. It's fabulous. It's human, and that's what we need a lot of right now these days. I mean, we always need it. But again, thanks for joining today, Ravi. I really appreciate it. This is Keep Going, the Finstrat CFO podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.